Back in 1982, in a column I was writing in a medical journal, I raised the question of whether or not public drinking water supplies could be polluted with female hormone residues which might affect the development of male babies. I also said that our drinking water could be contaminated with tranquilizers and other drugs. I've now discovered evidence suggesting that our drinking water might be contaminated with vaccines. But first, let me explain about the drugs. Back nearly 40 years ago, I tried to get TV and radio journalists to take up the problem, and I tried to interest politicians in the topic too. The BBC's Panorama programme was interested but too frightened by the idea, and quickly decided that it was far too controversial a subject. Maybe it's possible they were worried it would upset the government. However, it wasn't just the possibility of female hormone residues from the contraceptive pill which might be causing problems which worried me. My fear was built on several pieces of information. Fact 1. More and more people are taking increasingly powerful medicinal drugs such as antibiotics, painkillers, tranquilizers, sleeping tablets, and hormones and steroids. Huge numbers of people take drugs every day. Not many people go through a whole year without taking at least one course of tablets. Back then, half of the population, it was said, would take a prescribed medicine each day, and tomorrow, and the day after that. And on top of the prescribed drugs, there are all the non-prescription drugs that are taken, pills bought over the chemist's counter. The consumption of prescription and non-prescription drugs is still massively high. Fact 2. Many drugs are excreted in the urine when the body's finished with them. For example, up to 75% of a dose of tranquilizer may be excreted in the urine. With other drugs, the figures might be as high as 90%. Some drugs which are degraded can chemically react with the environment and become active again. Fact 3. After going through the standard purification procedures, wastewater is often discharged into freshwater rivers. Fact 4. Drinking water supplies are often taken from freshwater rivers, the same rivers into which the wastewater has been discharged. Fact 5. Water purification programs were designed many years ago, before doctors started prescribing vast quantities of drugs for millions of patients, and before the problem of removing drug residues had been thought of. It seemed clear to me back then that anyone who turned on a tap and made a cup of tea could be getting a cocktail containing leftover chemicals from other people's tranquilizers, sleeping pills, antibiotics, contraceptive pills, heart drugs, anti-arthritis pills, and so on. Back in 1982, I wrote that with an increasing number of people taking drugs, there must be a risk that the drinking water supplies will eventually become contaminated so heavily that people using ordinary drinking water will effectively be taking drugs. Or have we already reached that point, and are people who drink water in certain areas of the country already passively involved in daily drug taking? Close quotes. Back in 1982, no one seemed to know the answer to that frightening question. And today, I still don't know the answer. Does anyone? Are you an involuntary drug taker? Could you be addicted to any of the drug residues which might be in your drinking water? Could you be taking regular supplies of bits and pieces of other people's antibiotics? Are you taking contraceptive hormone leftovers? Could these drug residues be affecting your fertility? Could drug residues affect the health of any unborn children? No one seems concerned by these questions, but I think they should be. It may soon be too late, for the evidence is already appearing to suggest that my original fears were accurate. A publication produced by the Environmental Agency in the UK reported that 57% of the roach in one river had changed sex. Chemicals in treated sewage and factory waste were blamed for upsetting natural fish hormones. The researchers found that the fish were more likely to be affected when they spent time close to a sewage outlet. They also found that fish who lived upstream, away from the sewage outlet, were much less likely to be affected. Apparently, the chemicals in sewage which are most likely to affect fish are female hormones, such as estrogens. While they were studying lake water for pesticide contamination, Swiss chemists were surprised to find that the lake was polluted with chlorhydric acid, a drug which is used to lower blood cholesterol levels. The possibility that this could have been caused by industrial spillage was ruled out when it was established that chlorhydric acid is not manufactured in Switzerland. When the chemists checked other lakes and rivers, they found low concentrates of the drug everywhere. When researchers in Germany started looking for chlorhydric acid, they found the drug in all sorts of water supplies there, including tap water. Intrigued, the researchers looked harder and they found lipid-lowering drugs, analgesics, including quite strong ones, beta-blocker heart drugs, antibiotics, chemotherapy drugs, and hormones. They found all these drugs in water bodies and in drinking water, and they found that the concentrations were highest in heavily populated areas. Once they'd ruled out industrial spillage, the researchers realized that the drugs had come from human body wastes, exactly what I'd predicted. The chances are that no one knows what drugs can be found in your drinking water. Why? Because no one's looking. Most governments don't monitor water supplies to see if they contain drug residues, nor do they require anyone else to do this. But there seems to me little doubt that drinking water is now heavily contaminated with drug residues, and the long-term effect of this is difficult to estimate. Minute amounts of antibiotic in drinking water can affect bacteria in many different ways. They can surely have a dramatic effect on the development of antibiotic-resistant organisms. How are the drugs in your drinking water affecting your health? Is your daily cocktail of tranquilizers, antibiotics, hormones, steroids, chemotherapy drugs, heart drugs, painkillers, and so on making you ill? How do all these drugs interact? And are they likely to be at least partly responsible for the way the incidence of cancer is increasing? Are they affecting your immune system? Are the hormones affecting fertility? No one knows, and no one in authority seems to want to know. Maybe they're frightened to discover the truth. Maybe politicians wanted our drinking water to be contaminated with female hormones and tranquilizers. Maybe it's these contaminants which explain why so few people are standing up to evil totalitarian governments. Female hormones have feminized men, and there have been many suggestions that tranquilizers be put into our drinking water to quieten people down. And of course, much of our drinking water is already dangerously laced with fluoride. Sadly, you can't remove the drug residues by boiling your water before drinking it. Indeed, I suspect this could make things worse because distillation concentrates the drug residues. And I don't believe that filters will remove the drug residues. Meanwhile, politicians around the world now drink spring water at taxpayers' expense, waters which has been bottled at source before it's had too much of a chance of becoming contaminated. And now, as promised, back to vaccines. I've discovered another scary fact about our drinking water. In 1995, the Journal of Clinical Microbiology published a paper entitled Detection of Measles Virus RNA in Urine Specimens from Vaccine Recipients. Researchers from the Division of Viral and Rickettsial Diseases at the National Center for Infectious Diseases in Atlanta, Georgia, United States, discovered that measles virus RNA was detected in urine samples from 4 young adults. What does this mean? Does it mean that the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine may be found in our drinking water? I don't know the answer, but I don't think anyone else knows the answer either. Oh, and one other thing. Will blood transfusions be contaminated with vaccine residues? I ask in case anyone knows, because I certainly do not. Thank you for watching An Old Man in a Chair, and thank you for all your support. Please put my videos on other platforms and share them widely, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you to Mohammed Butt and Brand New Tube for allowing me to deliver the truth here. Don't forget to read The Light Paper at thelightpaper.co.uk, and don't forget to watch my friend Dr. Colin Barron's excellent videos. Although it may feel like it at times, please remember that you're not alone. More and more people are waking up. And we will win this war if we fight it with facts and passion and determination. Distrust the government, avoid mass media, and fight the lies. And thank you for watching An Old Man in a Chair.